Hey everybody, Gary here with Guitar Tricks, and welcome to part 2 of how to play acoustic guitar. So in the first video, we talked all about the instrument, the different things to look out for, some buying tips, how to hold the guitar, and now we're gonna get into the playing. Before we get into the lesson, please go ahead and click subscribe so that you get all of the latest and greatest content from Guitar Tricks. And if you want to be notified of any new lesson, be sure to tap the bell and let us know in the comments what you'd like to see in upcoming lessons. That's where we're always looking for ideas. All right, let's get into it. All right, now we're ready to play. Left hand. With our left hand, we want to play some chords. So I recently made a video called Campfire Chord Survival Kit or something like that, just a few videos ago. And that one told you all the chords you need to get started. What I would learn is the main open chords in the key of G and the key of C. So the main open chords in the key of G are G, A minor, B minor, which we could play like this, C, D, E minor. Then in the key of C, I would recommend the main chords in the key of C as well, which is going to be C, D minor, that's new, E minor, repeat, F, that's new, but we could play that like that, similar to how we played the B minor here, G, that repeat, A minor. Cool. Then what happens is you use a capo to move those chords into new keys. So when this was key of G, let's say I play the chords G, C, D. Those are 3 chords in the key of G. If I put a capo, let's say on the 2nd fret, I can still play those 3 chords. But now I'm actually playing in the key of A. And this chord, even though it looks like a G, it's actually an A. And this chord, even though it looks like a C, it's actually a D. And then this chord, even though it looks like a D, it's actually an E. So without getting too much into the theory, this is essential to beginner acoustic guitar and professional acoustic guitar. If you're a chord strummer, you need a capo so you can use the chords you know and love in all 12 keys, just sliding this thing around. And if you look up chord charts online, you're gonna see it'll say capo 3rd fret, but then it might tell you use the chord C. So what it means is you're playing that C, but being you have the capo on the 3rd fret, it sounds like a different chord. All right, now although I'm not gonna teach you all those chords, because this is just me giving you an overview of what you need to do to be able to get started on acoustic guitar, just in general, let's say we take the chord D. This is a D chord. You want to always point your fingertips right into the string instead of the sides of your fingers. And think of it like there's this old game called Operation I used to play as a kid where you would have to pull these little things out without touching these metal barriers or else it would go eh. So that's how I think of playing chords on guitars. You always want to make sure you're not touching any adjacent strings so that all the other strings can ring out freely. So you point straight in, right? That's more important than this hand position. This hand position, depending on the chord, you might be like this, you might be like that, but what's always the same is that those fingers are pointing straight in. And also you want to always try to get them as close to the edge of the fret wire as possible. Let's say this note right here, 2nd fret on my G string, if I put minimal pressure right behind the fret, like it's resting up against the fret wire, if I put minimal pressure right next to the fret wire, and I take that same pressure and I back it up, it buzzes. It requires more work if you're in the back of the fret, and way less work if you're in the front of the fret. Front being this way, back being that way. Then we get into the right hand. Now, how do we play rhythm on guitar? We strum. So let's just take an easy chord like E minor. Just take your 1st and 2nd fingers and put them on the 2nd fret of the A and the D string, like this. And then strum all 6 strings. Okay, now, this is called a strum pattern. Right, here's one more simple. Now, what's the same about both of those is that if you muted the video, it would look like I was going, but I'm going. Or I'm going. Right? No matter what the strum pattern, my hand and my wrist are always doing this. I just decide when to hit the strings and when to ghost the strings. Sometimes I ghost on the way down, sometimes I ghost on the way up, but that's what creates the variety. And the constant is that your hand, your wrist just remains this constant pendulum, down, up, to the beat. So if the beat of the song is 1, 2, 3, 4, my hand is going down, 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 up, down, up, down, up, down, up. So if I take the strum pattern 1, 2, 3, and 4, that's going to be down, 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 up, down. 1, 2, 3, and 4. So down on the beat, up on the ends. If I take a strum pattern down, down, up, down, that one's a really popular one. That's on 1, 2, and skip over 3 and 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and down, down, up, down, 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 up, down, 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 up, down. 1, 2, and 4. 1, 2, and 4. Right? So I'm ghosting 3. That's my ghost, right? 1, 2, and 3 and 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. 1, 2, and 3 and 4. All in that wrist and just selecting when to skip and when not to skip. I'm not doing this. This is the robot. I'm not doing the karate chop, which would be that. I just have that loose wrist, like you're shaking off the water. You just washed your hands and there's no paper towel and you're shaking it off. So you're not going to karate chop it off. You're going to shake it. Right? That's where most of the motion is. A little support motion here, but very minimal. Mostly all on the wrist. Now, I'm also holding a pick really lightly. And what kind of pick? Well, currently I have this thin or medium thin nylon pick with a grip. Personally, I don't use this one, but it's a good one for beginners. What I recommend is medium or medium thin for strumming teardrop size. So this is the standard teardrop size. The reason why you don't want the little pick is because only a little bit of actual material sticks out from your fingers, and you're gonna, with that wide strumming motion, you're gonna be hitting the strings with your fingers, and we wanna be hitting the strings with the pick. So we want, when strumming, to have a pretty good amount of pick to stick out in order to hit the strings with, and not with our the flesh of our fingers. We wanna use that pick. Having enough stick out also allows us to get a nice kind of flowy, soft pick hitting the surface, right? We can hold it nice and loose and the pick will hit the strings nice and soft, and that gives us a nice smooth sound. Now, as far as holding the pick, I like to have the pick stick out from my thumb like this, the side of my thumb, and then I just wrap my index finger around like that. So that's how I hold the pick. And so the thumb comes to this edge, and then the index finger comes to this bottom edge. So that's how that looks. Right? And then I hold my hand parallel to the strings. Here's on that E minor. And that motion is in the wrist, right? So standard medium pick. The best sound to me is actually celluloid. This is a celluloid pick right here. It's all different varieties of plastic. The celluloid, I feel like it has a smoother finish and a smoother sound. It doesn't have the grip as some of the other materials like nylon or Tortex, but to me it has a better sound. It's a little more slippery, but that makes it smoother sounding. Smoother pick, smoother sound. It could be subtle. You might not notice these differences right away, but if you really pay attention, it's cool. One of the cool things about picks is they're relatively inexpensive compared to other guitar accessories. So you could kind of buy these variety packs. You know, one company will make a variety pack, and you could experiment and really see how the materials and the thicknesses make a different sound. But in general, teardrop size, medium, best thing you can do. The reason why you want that medium is because it has some give, it has some flexibility. So it's going to sound smoother. The other thing is you want to be able to have good dynamics. So experiment with how light you could strum. Like let's just go down, up, down, up. So that's really light. I'm holding the pick really loosely in my fingers so anyone can just pull it right out. That's going to give me that soft sound. Then I'm going to tighten that grip and get really loud, right? And I could vary that. So let's say I did down, down, up, up, down. I'm gonna accent the second down and the last down. Watch this. Down, down, up, down. So by varying that volume, we get a little more of a musical sound. Instead of being always hard or always soft, we could vary it. And we do that by either squeezing harder or softer or just dropping the hand through the strings with a little more force. That's also going to do that. All right, then what we could also do is play fingerstyle. Let's take that E minor again. And we could create a little rhythm. So what I like to do as a general rule is cover the E, A, and D strings with my thumb, and then the G, B, and E strings with my index, middle, and ring finger. So I'm going to start with the thumb on the E and the D string like this, right? Just the side of the flesh. And then I'm going to add the G string in between those two with the index finger like this. Right, so just right where the flesh meets the index finger. Then at the end, I'm going to add the B string with the middle finger like this. Notice how my hand isn't moving around, it's staying stationary. Now I could grab the high E string with the ring finger if I want. Maybe every other time. So, first time and then second time. And the faster you want to go, the more relaxed you should be. And then you could add that to any chord. Here's a C chord. D. Only thing that matters is that you start on the root note of the chord. So for instance, on a D chord, the root note is the open D string. So I'm going to go. On the C chord, the root note is that note, third fret on the A string. So I'm going to start on the A string or the fifth string. G chord, low E string, so I start there. But the other notes aren't as important. It's just really the lowest one you want to make sure you figure out which string to start on. You want to have your fingers angled in a way so that, let's say on the G, B, and E strings, you can take all three of these fingers, index, middle, ring, and they're all positioned right, ready to play the string in the way I just described, right? So these three fingers are just like this, and the thumb is like this. And if you have it right, you could play 1, 2, 3, you could play 4 strings at the same time, like this. And then try separating. So now you could take those patterns and anytime you see a chord progression, just play fingerstyle instead. So if you see, let's say G, C, D, you can just go. Right? Just apply a simple pattern like that, and you know, it sounds really impressive because it almost sounds like more than one person, because you know, each string is kind of like a separate instrument instead of just one thing. All right, everybody, so that's what I consider everything you need to get started on the acoustic guitar. We talked about the instrument, we talked about the chords you should learn, the picks, the capo, strumming, fingerstyle. I think that's enough to get started. If you look at recent lessons on the channel, I've gone into all these topics in depth. So just one of these topics for like 20 minutes instead of this kind of overview. So feel free to explore that. If you want to take a step-by-step course, you know, over a series of 30 videos with downloadable PDFs and multiple camera angles and all sorts of great stuff, check out guitartricks.com. There's sequential courses on fundamentals, rock, country, blues, high quality song lessons with downloadable tab and backing tracks. Have fun, happy playing, and I'll see you in the next lesson.